Hi, Nick. So, this is our group presentation. We're doing the spinal reflexes lab, and I hope you enjoy it. We're going to go ahead and get started.
Spinal reflexes are essential involuntary responses that play a crucial role in our nervous action. These reflexes involve specific neural pathways that trigger immediate responses to stimuli, ensuring rapid protective and corrective actions essential in overall health. Reflex tests provide diagnostic insights that enable healthcare professionals to detect neural damage or dysfunction effectively. For instance, the Babinski sign is a critical diagnostic tool for distinguishing between organic and hysterical pathways. Paralysis. While the knee reflex helps assess the integrity of the spinal cord. Additionally, the pupillary reflexes regulate the amount of light entering the eye, ensuring optimal vision and protecting the retina. These reflexes are indispensable for maintaining balance and posture to protect the body from harm, highlighting their importance in both clinical and everyday contexts. Understanding spinal reflexes is vital for diagnosing and managing neurological health, as they reveal the intricate connections between sensory inputs and motor responses.
The purpose of this lab is to enable you to elicit knee jerk and ankle jerk reflexes while estimating nerve conduction velocity using these reflexes, and to describe an example of a flex on withdrawal reflex and elicit pupillary reflexes and test for the Babinski sign. So the methods that we used, really quickly, first we observed the knee jerk reflex, then the ankle jerk reflex, and then we did the pupillary reflex observation, and then we tested for the Babinski sign, and then we did an analysis.
Amplitude. Place the marker on the baseline of the EMG channel. Position the point selector on the peak of the response and record the delta EMG value for each condition.
Conduction velocity. Measure the distance traveled by the nerve impulse from the ankle to the top of the pelvis and from the top of the pelvis to the middle of the gastrocnemius muscle. Add the distances and record the total in millimeters. The conduction velocity will be calculated automatically. Okay. So for the reflex lab, we looked at how different spinal and cranial reflexes work and how they're connected to the central and peripheral nervous systems. We tested the knee jerk reflex, ankle jerk reflex, pupillary reflex, the plantar reflex, which is also the Babinski sign, and also the flexion withdrawal reflex. The goal was to see how these reflexes respond under different conditions. So for the first one, for the knee jerk reflex, we measured both latency and amplitude. Latency is how fast the reflex happens. And amplitude is like the strength of the response. So under normal conditions, the latency was about 15.26 milliseconds with an amplitude of 0.42 millivolts. But when we use the Gendrastic maneuver, which is like where you pull your hands apart to distract the brain, the latency increased to to 16.18 milliseconds, and the amplitude went up slightly by 0.44 millivolts. So basically, the maneuver enhanced the reflex by reducing the signals that come from the brain that might otherwise hold it back. Because whenever you perform the maneuver, your brain is distracted by that pulling apart. So your spinal reflexes are able to have a stronger amplitude because because your brain is distracted. It's not stopping the pulse from going through. And then we also saw a similar pattern with the ankle jerk reflex. So normally the latency was 27.14 milliseconds with an amplitude of 0.50 millivolts. But when we used the maneuver, the latency got faster, dropping to 25.84 milliseconds, and the amplitude more than doubled. It increased to 1.13 millivolts. So this reflex comes from different spinal segments. With the knee jerk, it's from L2 and L4, but with the ankle, it's from S1 and S2. So that might explain why some of the why there's some differences in strength and speed. We also have to calculate for the fact that different muscles are working with these different nerve responses. So it's possible that with the knee jerk, it's going through the gastrocnemius muscle. So because that muscle is larger than other muscles that you get from the ankle, you're going to get a stronger response because the muscle is larger. For the pupillary, we saw two different responses. The first one was a direct response where we measured the reaction in pupil constriction with light. So we basically shined a light in one eye and the pupil constricted, but then the other eye had something called a consensual response where the pupil also constricted, even though there was no light shined into it. And then we also measured distances, pupil constriction with distances. So the second thing that we did was we placed an object close to our eye, close to one eye to see the pupillary response, and we noticed that the pupils constricted when focusing on a nearby object, and this is just to help reduce blur and improve vision whenever an object's really close to your eyeball. So the last thing that we tested was the plantar reflex or the Babinski sign. So normally when you stroke the sole of the foot, the toes are going to they're going to like curl outwards and the big toe should go up. But if the big toe extends like downwards, no, I'm sorry. When you stroke the bottom of the foot, your toe is supposed to curl down. But if it curls up and outwards, then it can show a neurological issue, except in infants. So if you do this in infants under, I believe, the age of, what was it, 2, you're going to get that curl response, or you're going to get the fan out response instead of the curl response. But that's just because the nervous system is still developing in infants. And so I think that's it. Those are all the reflex.
The spinal reflexes lab demonstrated the critical role of reflexes in maintaining homeostasis and responding to external stimuli by providing insight into the complex neutral pathways that enable rapid and voluntary actions to protect and stabilize the body. The knee jerk and ankle jerk reflexes highlighted the impact of Jandrowski maneuver, which enhances reflex strength and response amplitude by reducing inhibitory brain signals, with variations in latency and amplitude reflecting differences in the involved spinal segments and muscle groups. Similarly, the pupillary reflex revealed the interconnected nature of the pupillary light reflex pathway, with both direct and consensual response ensuring effective adjustment to light exposure, while the accommodation reflex emphasized the adaptive precision of the visual system in focusing in nervy objects. For future studies, overall, these findings underscore the importance of reflex testing in clinical and research contexts, offering valuable insight into the functionality and health of the nervous system. For future studies, could explore the role of these reflexes under pathological conditions or in aging populations that enhance their diagnostic and their therapeutic applications.
Spinal reflexes are critical involuntary responses that facilitate rapid and protective actions, essential for maintaining physiological homeostasis. These reflexes, mediated by specific neural pathways, enable immediate responses to environmental stimuli, offering valuable diagnostic insights into the integrity of the nervous system. This study examined various spinal and cranial reflexes, including the knee jerk, ankle jerk, pupillary and plantar reflexes, highlighting their diagnostic and functional significance. Experiments revealed that the Jandrowski maneuver enhanced reflex strength and amplitude by reducing inhibitory brain signals, with variations in latency and amplitude linked to differences in spinal segments and muscle groups. The pupillary reflex demonstrated the interconnectedness of light adaptation and accommodation mechanisms, while the plantar reflex undiscovered its role in diagnosing central nervous system dysfunction, such as in cases of a positive Babinski sign. These findings emphasize the importance of reflex testing and testing and understanding neural health and developing diagnostic and therapeutic strategies, with future research aimed at exploring reflex behavior under pathological conditions and across diverse populations.
Yes, we're
Yay!
done.
Yay, we did it.